Heyo, my Planet Coaster friends, Johnny5 Alive here, and welcome back to another episode of Coaster Spotlight. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at Dragon Rage, a realistic B&M Floorless coaster created by LambtrOn. So, stay tuned, and let's check it out. Alright, so this was sent in by one of our Discord builders and golden patrons. Thank you so much for your support, LambtrOn. You are helping to keep the show go on. And he says, "Hey Johnny, this is two-part floorless coaster blueprint. The goal of the coaster was to make something realistic as possible. This is something you might find at Six Flags or Cedar Fair Park. It's fairly compact, goes from one element to the next, and was inspired by Silvarret's Grapefruit. I used the super smooth heartline method he showed us, which allowed me to make all custom inversions. Highly recommend this method." Alright, awesome. I did not expect that, and as you guys see here, it is a two-piece blueprint from my setup. Pretty easy to set up. We'll talk about that more in a second. And I did not expect this to be the super smooth heartline method that Silvarret showed. We did check this out in the Fallout Park the other day, which used the same method as well. So it's cool to see that we're seeing more blueprints with this technique showing up. So we'll have to see how smooth this coaster is. This should be an interesting episode. Quick look at the Steam Workshop, everybody. It is a two-part blueprint. So he has a link to each one of the pieces. So you have one set that is the coaster and kind of like the queue, and then the other set which is the scenery, the custom supports, trees and all that stuff, bushes. So you just download both of them. If you go to the collection, which I will have a link provided down in the description below, and you can subscribe to both of them. So guys, come over here and rate the actual part 1 and part 2. So come rate these and subscribe to these. Let's get some more ratings. Alright, so let's take a look at this. As before we jump into it, actually, so this is the two blueprint trick, and I showed this a long time ago because I created something that was really complicated, and this was back when we only had 2K blueprints, and I wanted to make a 4K blueprint. But what's cool about this is you can actually now do 8K blueprints if you use this trick. So he did push this to 8K pieces, which is actually really cool. And I encourage this, guys. If you do it right, like this, so the way it works is one blueprint is attached to a cube. So essentially, you want to build things in two groups. So you build your first group up to 4K, so he did that here. And then he started a second group, and he had that group selected, so you can put a building piece down, select it, and then add to building. And then he just went around and added the trees and all this scenery that you see in this cluster. And you attach that to a cube. And because while you're building them, these cubes are in the exact same spot, when you upload them to the workshop and you go to place them again, all you got to do is align these two cubes. And that's pretty easy to do, honestly, and you can see that they're perfectly aligned almost a near pixel. It's a little bit off, but you can barely tell. He has custom supports attached to one, and they look pretty darn spot on, so they fit. And yeah, so I mean, it's a great method in my opinion, and I highly recommend doing this. And you know, we're at a point now where a lot of people are doing, I mean, the 4K limitation, people are already fulfilling that. When we went from 2K to 4K, we saw a huge jump in what people were able to do. And while we're still seeing amazing creations, I think this technique will really allow people to get that much more finer detail in their blueprints. So I still recommend it, guys. And then once you're done, you can just get rid of this stuff. You can also, just a note to LambtrOn, you could probably put these into a separate group just to make it a little bit easier to delete, but not a big deal at all. And there you go. So, boom, 8K right there. And, you know, it doesn't, at first I looked at it and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like 8K, but it's because of all these fine details. You see on the boarding station, it's a beautiful boarding station, tons of custom boards. We see Silvarret do this a lot, and as he mentioned, he got the inspiration for the smooth coaster trick from Silvarret's channel. I highly recommend going and check that out, guys. Silvarret shows a technique on the coaster where you can make very smooth coasters, and the way you do that is you put down a 4-meter track and you build everything in tiny 4-meter segments, and then afterwards you smooth and move over, smooth, move over, and you smooth in between, and you can get some really cool heartline rolls, and just a really smooth looking coaster. As you can see here, it's gonna roll around, and the guests, basically their hearts, it's not a perfect heartline roll, I wouldn't say, but yeah, the idea with that is to the heartline roll is to make it so their head stays in the same spot, I think, or their hearts, I guess, and they basically rotate around themselves. So that can be accomplished with this technique, and you can also really get some smooth looking coasters. Now it does have bugs because the engine was not intended to do this, so depending on your perspective, sometimes it gets a little bit jittery because it is traveling from one segment to the next, from the next to the next, and the game usually is used to longer segments, so it is defying the capabilities of what the game was intended to do. So it's naturally going to have some bugs because the QA team did not bug test for that style of building, but I still think it's pretty cool nonetheless. So here you go, you got the queue all the way around here. It goes under this gazebo. We got an Asian theme inspired here, a really cool dragon rage sign here with a little dragon eye. So these are where all the details are coming from, and the reason I love this 4K plus 4K blueprint style is that it does really allow you to push the signage. You could have like a 1 or 2K sign with tons of detail. You can sit there and put a lot of detail into your boarding station, have that 1 or 2K, and then you still have another 4K just to decorate and theme your coaster. So feel free to try it, guys. Send me your submissions. I think it definitely elevates the possibilities. I mean, 8,000 pieces is quite a lot. And, it even allows you to do stuff like fence in your coaster, which I always like to see. And that's something that we usually don't have enough parts for by the time we finish our coasters. So, there it is. Let's take a peek at it at nighttime here. Wowee. That is glamorous. Oh my goodness. Orange, red, and a touch of purple, I think. Looks pretty awesome. I do like the purple lighting on the back sides here. I mean, I like the contrast between warm colors and cool colors. The cool colors he's used on the bottom, and the warm colors he's used on the top. And that's actually a really good technique in just color theory in general. Putting cool colors in the shadowed areas, and warm colors where highlights would be shown. So very nice lighting. I like this. Alright, let's take a look at the coaster stats. First of all, we have a Floorless Werewolf Corkscrew Coaster. We got a 5.9 Excitement, 3.67 Fear, and a 0.99 Nausea. Here's the rest of the stats if you want to take a closer look at them for yourselves. And let's delay no further and jump right into it. Alright, so the nature of these coasters, guys, you kind of have to go into the track view to get the best experience possible. We'll try out both and we'll see the difference. I'm wondering if that Cobra roll was custom made as well. We're gonna have to take a look at the coaster track. It's a little jittery around that. I don't think you'll ever be able to get it perfect. Alright, very nice. Now we're going to go straight into seat view and see if we can see a difference. Alright, here we go. I can already tell a difference. You can tell that the the animation of the cart is having a hard time going from segment to segment. Yeah, I can for sure tell a difference. Let's see this Cobra. It didn't seem too jittery. I'm gonna have to look at the track here. Alright, so let's, I guess we're gonna have to shut this down for a sec. Curious to know. Okay, this is done segment by segment. That is a custom Cobra loop. Wow. Now, here's the thing, guys. I don't know how I feel about this technique yet. I know with Silvarret's coaster, the example that he gave, Silvarret's very experienced at designing coasters, and he knows and understands coasters a lot. So when he created his demonstration, and he spent a lot of time getting it right, it looked as if it was a completely different coaster, like something I've never seen in Planet Coaster before. And it was because of the certain elements of design that he incorporated, the way he banked it, the way he did the heartline rolls. You know, there's a lot of things that he specifically designed into the coaster to accentuate and take advantage of this technique. What I'm wondering here is, you know, unless you're that advanced at designing coasters and you know a lot about coasters and how to accomplish the certain minute details and subtle inversions and hard bank corners and stuff like that, and make them take advantage of this system, I don't know if it's going to be beneficial to do this every time, simply because you do get jitteriness, and you can see it in both the seat view and the cinematic view, which sort of detracts from the experience. So I'm thinking to myself, unless it's, you know, absolutely necessary to do it, like you have multiple heartline rolls and you have a whole bunch of aspects that, such as what we saw in Silvarret's video, I don't know if it's going to be worth it, because there's a pro and a con. It gets jittery, but the first person experience is quite awesome. What I'm trying to get at here is, I wonder if we tried to recreate this coaster using what the game provided with us and not doing 4-meter segments and smoothing, if we could accomplish the same look and feeling coaster without the shakiness. I feel like we could get a similar Cobra roll. I'm not 100% certain though. I feel like some of these inversions and corkscrews and stuff could be possible with the default pieces provided. They might be a slightly different though, because the advantage of this is it does create more smoothing between the segments, and you know, you get that bank and that swoosh and that flow, which you normally wouldn't see. But yeah, there's an argument to be said here that it could be worth it and it could not be worth it depending on the coaster design. But I do like seeing something like this where we see a custom Cobra roll. So very cool nonetheless. It's an interesting topic, and I would like to see some direct comparisons. And until I do, I can't really put my finger on it whether I think this method is worthwhile, and especially looking at what Silvarret said, and he did. He said it was something like 8 hours of just smoothing the coaster, and it's very monotonous. So I don't know. I'm still indifferent on the subject. So anyways, that's my rant. Let's jump into the nighttime. Alright, we're gonna go track view again because that seems to be the best way to experience this style of coaster. So here we go. Alrighty, and there it is, everybody. Very nice work, LambtrOn. Keep up the good work. I absolutely love the color on this. Coaster design was really nice, and the 8K blueprint was a nice treat. I don't think we've actually done an 8K coaster blueprint since the update, which is actually very surprising to me. So just a note for everybody else, don't be afraid to try this method, because as you saw from the setup, it's actually pretty easy to do, and it's going to allow you to do a lot more decoration. So I think it's great, and that was a lot of fun. So thank you so much, LambtrOn, for the submission, and that's going to do it for this episode of Coaster Spotlight, everybody. That was Dragon Rage, a realistic B&M Floorless coaster created by LambtrOn. If you guys enjoyed, please be sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more daily Planet Coaster videos. If you guys want to support the show and keep it going, you can do so by becoming a patron or by leaving a tip or donation using the links down in the description below. Alright, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye now.